Hello, beautiful people. It's Lulu. Welcome to the Lulu Essey podcast. Unscripted and entirely unedited. It's really good and really terrifying to be back at the mic again. I can't believe a week has passed already. And here I am. And before we get going with episode 2, I just wanted to take a moment and say a huge thank you to everyone who took the time to listen to episode 1. And for all those people out there who took the time out of their day to send me a message, encourage me, cheer me on along the way, give me feedback. It was so amazing. And just to reconnect with people that I hadn't heard from for a long time has just been so magical. And just to share with you that on my podcast platform, I can actually go in to the episode and look at the data and see where everybody's listening from. And it was quite astonishing, really, how many cities this podcast reached. And, you know, people from literally all over the world have been listening to this. So thank you from my heart is what I wanted to say, and I hope that continues. And I hope every week there's more cities in the world that are added to that list, and the journey continues. In preparing for episode 2, I listened back to episode 1, and I have a little confession to make. Well, confession sounds like a heavy word. I have something that I want to have a conversation about. And that is that I started to really get into a lot of fear around what are people going to think? Was it too messy? How did it come across? You know, will I meet the expectation with episode 2? And also choosing this format of being unedited I didn't realize quite the challenge that I set for myself, because, you know, it's one moment, one opportunity, and I really allowed myself to get into my head about all of this and get very hung up on kind of what are people going to think, and I really needed to come back to myself and come back to why I'm doing this, and come back to my commitment to myself and to you, to be honest, to be raw, to be real, and to be messy. So I am, my voice is shaking a little, and I'm still feeling scared, and I wonder if that feeling will ever go away. But here I am, and I thought about Eminem's song "Lose Yourself," and I know that that's been a lot in the media lately, but I went and looked up the lyrics and just loved the first line, the first few lines, and I just want to read them for a second. And it says, "Look, if you had one shot or one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted in one moment, would you capture it or just let it slip?" And I was so on the verge of letting this all slip and letting fear get the better of me. And I thought, no, just come back to myself, just come back to why I'm here. And in reviewing episode 1, I realized that, oh my God, I took you on such a roller coaster, and there were so many things I said and so many themes that I touched on. And in my effort to be more intentional and for these conversations to get better and better, I really want to be a little more focused in this conversation and give you a clearer picture of where we're going to go. So in episode 1, there were 3 main topics that I covered. There was the big topic around self-love. There was a topic around starting scared and doing it anyway. There was the topic around embracing imperfection, or what I called leaning into perfection. And kind of underpinning all of that was keeping our commitments to ourselves. So today, the first thing I want to do is really explore the idea of starting before you're ready. And in order to have a conversation, I want to invite you to be part of this and maybe take a moment just to ask yourself, what is something that you have been wanting to do, but you're not doing it, you haven't started because you feel you're not ready? We all have something. I mean, I have many things, and maybe you have more than one thing, but try and identify one thing in your life that you're wanting to do, but this idea of I'm not ready is stopping you from starting. And what I want to suggest is that, and explore with you, is that this idea that we need to be ready, that we need to have all our ducks in a row, all that does is keep us stuck and keeps us from moving forward. And once we start taking action, yes, even if that action is imperfect, but once we start taking action, that's where we start getting clarity. And with clarity comes momentum, and with momentum comes clarity, and then more and so it goes. And it's like a flower that starts to open. But we need to be willing to take that first step. And part of that willingness is wrapped up in this idea of imperfection. And so in episode 1, I spoke about leaning into imperfection. And I kind of want to reframe that a little bit, because leaning into something feels, again, a little bit overused. It feels a little bit jargony. And what I want to say is just put your arms around that imperfection. Just embrace that imperfection. Just hold it and hug it and say, oh yes, this is messy. Here we go. So it's kind of like these two ideas of starting before you're ready and embracing imperfection are so closely intertwined that if we do the one, then it's kind of like, we need to embrace the other one. So maybe we can just take a moment to think about, what does it mean for me to embrace imperfection? And in my life, in this situation, embracing imperfection means knowing that this can be better and will be better, but still showing up and doing it until it gets better. So that's what it means for me. And what it means for me to embrace imperfection means knowing that there are other people out there that are so much better at this than I am, but not letting that hold me back. Still being willing to step forward, still being willing to say, I have a voice and I want to use it. So that's my example in my life. And I'd love you to share with me, like, what does this mean in your life? And, I spoke about us having a conversation, but I want to really kind of properly invite you to engage with me. And whether that's leaving a comment on this podcast, whether that's putting a comment on my Instagram page or on my website, I have a whole form that you can fill out. And my website is luluessey.com. Very simple, very straightforward. Talk to me. I'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to hear how these ideas show up in your life and how you struggle with them or how you deal with them. And that leads me on to something else that I wanted to chat about in this episode. And that is about a good friend of mine said something to me today. And she said, there are so many experts out there. The word she used was gurus, but I'll use the word experts. And she said, offering so much advice, and I just get so confused because a lot of it is conflicting. And I think that's why I refer to this as a conversation, because I don't have all the answers. But these are things that I struggle with in my everyday life. But I found a way through, and I continue to find ways through. So that's what I want to share with you. But I don't want this to be perceived as this is the advice that I'm giving. I'd much rather you listen to what I have to say and see what resonates and see what sparks for you. Because something I said in episode 1, I still stand by, and I really feel the truth of it, is that we are really the experts of our own lives. We know best what we need to do for ourselves. So let's explore that a little bit and see kind of how that unfolds for us, and how we can use these ideas to more consciously create a life that we love. And in these ideas of starting before you're ready, embracing imperfection, one of the many things that my life has shown me is that these are never one and done. These are daily practices. And the change is small and it's incremental, but it's those micro things that we do every day. We feel the fear and we do it anyway. And that's where the clarity comes. And that's where we start building momentum. And that's where the joy comes. And we start feeling like a sense of, oh, okay, I can do this. It's not so scary. And that's what I want to encourage, is to find your own way. Let's use these conversations to support each other and to kind of help each other along. But to always acknowledge where home is at. And home is inside. And remember, you are the expert. I am the expert of my life, just like you are the expert of your life. So I want to leave you with something as we kind of close off for episode 2, and that is take that first step. Forget about being ready to do something. You know what it is in your heart that you want to do. Just put your shoulders back, take a deep breath in and say, I'm not ready. I may not be ready, whatever ready means, but I'm going to start. And once you take the first step, the second step becomes a little bit easier, and then the third step. And you might get 2 weeks down the line, and all of a sudden you have this moment of, oh my God, what am I doing? And that's par for the course. It's we wake up every day and we are different. We're different to the day before. And that's where we can embrace that imperfection. And I think imperfection has a bad rap because it is beautiful, it's creative, it's messy, it's joyful. That's kind of where the spark is. That's where the magic is. So I hope I have kept my intention or delivered on my intention of being a little bit more focused as we explore the concepts of starting before you're ready and embracing imperfection. And take my hand. I'll do this with you because I'm doing this on a daily basis. And as I sit in this chair here today, I'm still starting before I'm ready. And I am absolutely embracing my imperfection. And there's one other thing that I want to say before we wrap up, and that is, it's very easy to say, I don't care what other people think. And I think that is a big reason why we don't start the things that we want to do, and we feel like, we're not ready, is because we're very, very worried about what other people think. And I'd love to get to the place one day where I truly don't give a flying F what other people think. But I promise to be honest, and my honest answer to that is I do care what other people think. I absolutely do. It's like with this podcast, I want people to love it. I want them to feel like they're getting something out of it. But the difference is I am not letting that paralyze me anymore. I am scared about what other people think, but that's no longer a good enough reason for me not to do what I'm here to do and not to step into who it is that I want to be. So I want to leave you with that thought, and I'd love you to take a few moments and reflect on this conversation and ask yourself, well, what does this mean to me? What am I not doing because I think I'm not ready? Am I able to embrace my imperfection and love all the bits of myself? And what am I not doing or not saying because I'm worried about what other people think? And I'm not going to tell you to not care about what other people think. Yes, I mean, in theory, we shouldn't give a shit about what other people think, but we do. So let's just not fight that, not push against that, accept that. But at the same time, let that not be the reason that you hold yourself back. Because I'm no longer allowing that to be the reason that I hold myself back. And I was just about to say, I love you. And then the thought popped into my head, well, oh my God, what are they going to think about that? But I do love you. And thank you for listening, whoever you are. And I appreciate your time, and I appreciate you listening to this. What comes from the heart reaches the heart. And today, like every day, this comes straight from my heart to yours. I look forward to seeing you next week. And next week, we're going to take a little bit of a look at, we're going to dive into, we're going to dip our toe into, whatever. We're going to explore what it means to keep our commitments to ourselves. So with that, beauties, have a beautiful, beautiful week.